I want to thank everybody for coming. Welcome to VVCU, Visitation Valley Community Unity. We are a group of community leaders here in Visitation Valley who have come together to give voice to our residents and constituents. We understand and know that our area has been long neglected, and particularly as we host this conversation with school board candidates, we also know that our schools are by and large underperforming. And so this is a very important conversation, and we are very interested in who is elected. And of course, we like to do our part to make sure that the best candidates, those candidates are going to help us out here in Visitation Valley the most. So again, welcome. We want to thank each of the candidates that are on tonight for their participation. I have to say,
if I'm in, do they expect me to take notes? Damn it. Can I send you the link?
So I do want to say that it was my intention to write down each candidate as they came on to figure out who was first come. And it happened so fast that I only got Virginia Cheung and Ann Sue. They were the first two. And then Parag came on, and then I'm not sure who came on after that. So I apologize if I don't get the order just right. But we're going to proceed, and the format is that each candidate will have a total of 3 minutes. So this is not going to be a long conversation. I'm going to allow a minute to introduce yourself, and then I'm going to ask you one or two questions. Each candidate, everyone should know, has, or some of the candidates have submitted 3-minute videos that answer specific questions that we asked. And so they will be uploaded to the YouTube for public review. Each candidate tonight will have 3 minutes to introduce themselves, 1 minute for that, and then another couple of minutes to answer questions. And whoever's on at the end that's still remaining, there'll be Q&A for anyone in the audience to ask any of the candidates. All right, so that's the format, and we will begin with Virginia Cheung. Again, welcome. Thank you for your participation. And so if you would, take a minute to introduce yourself.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Robert, and thank you so much to the team for inviting me here. I am a neighbor. I live in the district, and I am an SFUSD parent. My son goes to Alice Fong U, and he goes to Wame after school. I'm also the daughter of survivors of political persecution. My parents came here to seek asylum. And
I'm on the Visitation Valley.
Because of the challenges of being immigrants, my brother dropped out of high school. I was mute for the first 5 years when I entered school. However, I was really lucky that I had an amazing kindergarten teacher who created a differentiated track for me and set me on course to be the first in my family to graduate college. And through that journey, now as a parent myself, I feel that early interventions are right for every child, and nobody should have to rely on luck to get the help that they need. I'm endorsed by Pastor Sonia Brunswick in the neighborhood. I've done a lot of work out here organizing events, supporting our small business owners, collaborating with all of our the different organizations to build a strong, cohesive community. And
all right, sorry, let me just stop you. So your minute is up.
Okay.
Let me ask you a couple questions, all right?
Sure.
All right. Your video suggests your priority, if elected, would be to focus on pre-K programs. If that's true, then please describe what plan you propose that would impact Visitation Valley.
Absolutely. So I have worked last nearly 8 years at We Children's Services, where we're the largest Head Start providers. And I've also worked at private schools, bilingual programs. And there is a high need for bilingual programs in the city, particularly in Viz Valley, where there are folks who speak a lot of languages. And the first 5 years are the most impactful to be able to learn another language. It also supports social emotional development, communication skills, and strengthens skills for other areas like math and what have you. So I think if we can strengthen our early education programs across the district and have programs that attract families, we can both support our diverse families and also help to attract and retain families and build communities early on in the child's educational journey.
Okay, thank you very much. That is exactly 3 minutes. I appreciate it. Okay, next, Ann Sue. You said please take a minute to introduce yourself.
Good to see you, Pastor Cowan.
Good to
I
see
am
you.
Ann Shu. I am a school principal and teacher and parent of recent public school graduates just this June. And I am an immigrant to this country 45 years ago. And I'm very grateful for the American public education system that gave me and my family the opportunity to pursue our American dreams. And after 25 years of very rewarding entrepreneurial business experiences in the private sector, including founding and running 3 companies for a total of 18 years, my only professional goal for the remainder of my life now is to ensure that all students of San Francisco can have access to quality and affordable education. And I've been deeply involved with our school district in the last 3 years with recall and then serving on the school board. And I also, a year ago, founded a nonprofit school to work with East Side of San Francisco families, working in immigrant families. I think that's my minute.
I think it is. Thank you very much for that. You said in your video that your priorities included, quote, fixing fiscal crisis with truth and transparency. So though truth and transparency are important, of course, they don't express a course of action. So please say what you will specifically propose to address the financial crisis, if elected.
So the financial crisis needs to be addressed. As part of it is closing some schools. I know nobody likes to close schools, but I think that is part and parcel of fixing our fiscal crisis, not just in the short term, but midterm and long term. So that needs to be part of the plan to realign our resources so that the remaining schools are fully staffed, not just with teachers, but with social workers and nurses, librarians, everything else that can serve all of our students. Right now, with resources spread so thin, we don't have librarians, we don't have nurses at every school, and that's not serving any of our students' needs. So.
Okay, thank you for that. We have time for one more quick question. What is the community school program that you say you will push to improve Little Viz and Big Viz schools?
So the community school program right now has been implemented at BVHM that provides wraparound services, that has housing for unhoused students and their families that they can stay overnight, as well as meals and other support, family support that many of our students lack. And that's what I mean is to reproduce that kind of program. And we actually have money from San Francisco City, the Student Success Fund, that is specifically to set up community schools at.
Thank you very much. That's very helpful. All right, that's 3 minutes. And Parag, I think you're next. And so if you would take a minute to introduce yourself.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Parag Gupta, and my family's story is rooted in education. My grandfather started the first women's college in his region in India. My father's academic success enabled him to come to this country. My parents, they started out with $200 in their pocket. They faced discrimination. They faced wage theft. They lived in an SRO. but they never skimped on my education. And I seek to give that opportunity forward to our 49,000 students. I'm a public school dad, a proud one, served on the school site council at my daughter's school, Chinese Immersion School at Diavola. In my day job, I am the Chief Program Officer of Mercy Housing, the largest nonprofit affordable houser in the country. We have many programs out in Viz Valley and Sunnydale. We're about to open up a big community hub in partnership with Wu Yi and many other great partners. Before that, I actually ran programs for a foundation that was investing 160 million, including many partners in Viz Valley and Sunnydale. And I look forward to any questions you have.
Okay, thank you very much. So my question for you is, because I read your candidate statement, and it doesn't really talk about what you have done that impacts Visitation Valley students, even though you did some work at Mercy Housing. So can you talk about what you've done for Visitation Valley students, period?
Sure, absolutely. So part of the programs, and I'd draw upon my experience both at the Stopsky Foundation as well as Mercy Housing. So at Mercy Housing, I oversee the programs for 45,000 residents across the entire network. And that includes, some of the work that we've done at Mercy Housing includes partnering with all the different programs within Viz Valley, within Sunnydale, to make sure that we're providing wraparound services. Similarly, at the Stupsky Foundation, one of the most proud programs that I was fond of funding was Friends of the Children within the Sunnydale area that really focused on making sure that we provided wraparound supports for kids from the time that they're in kindergarten all the way through 10th grade to get them on a path to get to and through post-secondary degree or vocational studies, whatever that might be. And I'd say that that is part of the expertise that I seek to bring as someone who manages or is part of the leadership team of an organization with 4.4 billion in assets. I've managed in complex systems where we have to balance both the impact outcomes of our students in this case and the financial bottom line to make sure that we can balance the budget so that we can mitigate what right now is a crisis moment within the school district.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your answer. And so that's the 3 minutes. I will ask next, John Jersin. All right, John, thank you for being here today. Would you please take a minute to introduce yourself?
Yeah, happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me. And look, I'm running for Board of Education because public education shaped my family. My mom grew up in poverty in Wichita, Kansas, and her public education and a love of math helped her land a job at a bank, and she worked her way out of poverty. She passed her values on to me, and I went to public school, and in 3rd grade, I had a teacher that taught her students how to code. And as a kid who was good at math, I loved it, and I stuck with it. And by middle school, I was staying up late at night writing computer games. And I would share them with friends, and then I started selling them to friends, and I realized that's how you start a company. So I did that again after college. I started a company literally in the storage closet of my friend's office. We couldn't afford our own office. I was writing algorithms to match people to jobs that they were a fit for, and that company grew and grew. And eventually LinkedIn bought that company and asked me to lead their core business unit. So I had this wild experience, suddenly finding myself as a leader of an organization with thousands of people and a multi-billion-dollar budget. And that was exciting work, and it was important to me. And then I had kids, and they became so much more important. And as I see my kids about to spend the next 10 plus years in the school district, I see the crises we face, like the financial crisis, and I see how my skills and experience that I'm lucky to have are a direct fit.
Thank you very much. That's a minute and a half. So let me ask this question very quickly. Your candidate statement says you started an education foundation. So please tell us about it and whether it impacts Visitation Valley students.
Yeah, I'm very excited about that work. It's done a number of things in the city to support organizations in various ways to help students, especially in under-resourced communities throughout the city. So, for example, we built a computer lab in Chinatown. We support tutoring programs across the city, including at 826 Valencia and the Mindful Life Project, Students Rising Above, all programs that typically target youth that haven't had enough resources and help them succeed and make it to college and succeed in school.
All right. You didn't mention Visitation Valley, just for the record.
Oh, it's across the whole city, but yeah, there are plenty of students in Visitation Valley that get help from those programs too.
All right. All right. Well, thank you very much, sir. Now I'm going to ask Jamie Huling.
Hi.
There you are. How you doing? Take a minute to introduce yourself.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm sorry I showed up late. As with many of you, I'm a working parent and I got stuck waiting for delayed muni on my way back from work. I am a deputy city attorney and the mom of 2 kids, including an SFUSD second grader and a toddler. And I am the daughter of a conservative car salesman and drill sergeant, and a working class Latina mom who raised me with progressive Catholic values. So as you can imagine, my parents did not agree on much as I was growing up, and I learned how to be a fighter. I went to college. I was the first woman on my mom's side of the family to graduate from college. And when I got there, I was really shocked by what I saw on campus. There was a rampant culture of sexual assault that went unchecked, and that turned me into an activist. I led student organizing to hold the administration accountable for student safety, and that put me on the path to law school and becoming the first lawyer in my family as well. So I've dedicated my entire career as a lawyer to fighting for San Franciscans as a public interest lawyer and a public servant as a deputy city attorney. A lot of the cases that I worked on have been ones that have been targeted to help communities like Visitation Valley, including settling a $300 million case against lead paint companies for intentionally marketing lead paint for residential use for kids when they knew that it was poisonous and would poison children. And they specifically said that they didn't care that that was just a Black and Puerto Rican issue. So we're cleaning that up, and I really appreciate your support.
Thank you very much. All right, so your candidate statement says that you are ready to fight for our kids.
Yeah.
You've done a lot before, but it doesn't look like you've done a lot in education. So you can let us know. Please tell us what you've done already to fight for our kids, and if you have done anything specifically in Visitation Valley.
Yeah, so as someone whose own mom did not graduate college, I have always been acutely aware of how lucky I was to have that opportunity. And so outside of my professional career, I've spent over a decade volunteering at Scholar Match, which is a nonprofit in the mission that makes college possible for first-generation students, almost all of whom are low-income students of color, and many are SFUSD students in Visitation Valley specifically. And so I spent 6 years being an individual one-on-one college coach for those kids, helping them with their essays, and then 6 years on the board of that organization, helping reshape it into one that was led by first-generation kids of color who are all grown up and ready to lead the organization and be representative of their communities. I also am a law teacher. In my spare time, I've taught a clinic in how to be a government lawyer and giving back to those who want to learn a career path that they might not otherwise have access to. And I've done that for 7 years.
Okay, thank you very much. Much appreciated. I'd like to talk with Min Chang. Please take a minute to introduce yourself.
Great, thank you. Yes, I'm Min Chang, and I'm first and foremost a mom. We have 2 lovely daughters, a 23-year-old and a 28-year-old. Our 23-year-old is actually a first-year law student, actually now second-year law student. Our 28-year-old is a journalist with the Wall Street Journal. So as parents, we know how important education is in terms of being foundational for a child's future. As for myself, I came to the U.S., we came to the U.S. in 1972 as immigrants, and I entered public school starting in 2nd grade all the way through high school. So I'm definitely a product of public schools, and I'm very, very proud of it. I believe that it's made me who I am today. Today, I'm a CEO of a healthcare company based here in San Francisco. We serve the most vulnerable actually here in the city and the county of San Francisco, both adults, older adults, as well as adults with disabilities. And in terms of what I'm committed to do, if I'm so lucky to be on the board, I'm very committed to making sure that we fix the fiscal crisis without closing schools. I'm also very committed in terms of raising the bar in terms of our curriculum, of our performance of our schools, and making sure that we actually really work with the community to actually develop the school systems that we really need. I'm also very committed to making sure that bullying, harassment, and violence and discrimination of any kind is not tolerated in our school system. So those are things that really matter as I go around and speak to parents. Yeah.
Thank you very much for that. So you say you would not close schools, but you want to fix the financial crisis. So how would you do it?
That's a great question. So I've actually taken time to look at the SFUSD books, both the financial books as well as the operational plans. I've spent time speaking to SFUSD as well. So there are many areas, but I'll kind of summarize it. So on the revenue, from a revenue perspective, so top line perspective, there's actually room that we can take a look at federal, state, and local funding. And so on the federal level, there are federal grants we can take a look at by initiative. At the state level, our allocation per pupil is actually not the highest within California. We're somewhere in the middle. So I would say that we can do a better job advocating for much better revenue per pupil allocation for San Francisco. At the local level, we have done some fundraising, but SFUSD has also shared with me that beyond Salesforce, there aren't any really large corporate donors. So I think there's a lot more we can do on the fundraising side. In terms of the balance sheet, SFUSD owns a lot of properties across the city of San Francisco. We should take a look at that because that's actually cost as well that we're incurring. We can take a look at line of credit. So there's a lot of things within our control, especially around the cost piece, the cost reduction piece in central office that we can take a look at without resorting to closing schools and forcing our schools to not be there. I think it's important for us to remember that our customers in this case are actually the schools, the families, and the kids. And then we should start there. The communities are really important.
Thank you very much for your answer. I will ask Laurance Lee to answer next. Please take a minute, sir, and introduce yourself.
Hello, Robert. Hello, everybody. I recognize Marlene, Rex, heard Anna earlier today. Good to see everybody. It's been a few months since I said hello. I recognize all the work you guys are doing for the mayor's race as well as all these other races. It's very important for Visitation Valley to have their voices heard as this election's coming up. I'm definitely someone that understands quite a bit about growing up in San Francisco, all the joys and challenges. I grew up in the city myself. I went to K through 12 San Francisco public schools, Oregon, Presidio, and Lowell High School. And as a child of immigrants, I very much recognize how much parents need to have support from communities as they go through this whole period. And I recognize again as well that as you guys are talking about, the Southeast Visitation Valley has so many needs for extra services and other kinds of work. I recognize how much APAC and other groups are doing across the city. The students need so much in terms of having chances to have extra help with tutoring in English and that sort of stuff. And that's been really helpful with the pandemic. And those sorts of things are not diminishing as we're going forward. So definitely, I'm a good friend. I've demonstrated alliances, and I'm working very hard to help out going forward in terms of supporting these schools, if it's Burton, if it's Visitation Valley, as well as to make sure that the language programs are part of the way we're going to bring up enrollment going forward.
All right, thank you very much for your answer. In your video, you said if schools are closed in Visitation Valley, you would propose to, quote, keep the programs going that are so loved and the teachers that are loved together. What did you mean by that? What programs are you talking about?
It's definitely something where each school has communities and histories that are very important to the families. And so a lot of schools that are being considered even Clear Lilienthal, they might have to move and Korean programs might have to change. So that's really important to try as much as we can to have the families be able to be together, because that's a big part of why people want to go to schools. If you go to one school and then you go to a second school and a third school and you lose all your friends, this is something that happened to my sister. And she still has some of that scars of not having a good sense of community. So that's why it's important for me that, as we have to make these choices, that we are really working hard to do as much as we can to recognize that the community has specific things, and we're not just taking the information and then eating it and then doing our choices.
Okay, thank you very much. So you said something about keeping teachers together. What's your plan on that?
Yeah, honestly, we are facing a tough place. We are $1.3 billion budget, of which we need to cut over $100 million. And they're talking about 500 certified positions, which is quite a few teachers. So how do you do that? That's going to be tough. Of course, the district has got its ideas about seniority and program control and that sort of stuff. But at the same time, are these teachers that are going to stay? Are they going to go to a school across the city where it's going to be a bad commute? Are they going to work with people that they don't like or know? This is where you have to be trying to work with the people that are there to give them preferences.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. I appreciate your answer.